Or do you think this looks better or this looks better? 1 or 2?
My wife's an optometrist. Let's go 1 again. Oh, that's changing. It's like
I think it's like weirdly adjusting to it, but I think this is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out the podcast. We've got an exciting episode today. Fost, who I've been talking to for over a year now. We finally met. It feels like a whole lifetime ago that we first started talking. So hey, Fost, welcome.
Thanks for having me and all that. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and it has felt like a lifetime, honestly. I was just telling you before you started the recording, I was like, it took us about a year and a half and 60 more handhelds to come out before I was able to schedule anything out. So it's awesome. Yeah.
It's crazy. And and you haven't put a lot of content out. So, how you connect with someone through their content and their personality and that. So I forgot what a character you are.
It's so funny. I forgot too, because you'll find me here at 4 a.m. And it's not to say I've lost an edge or anything, but I actually had to go back to some older videos to be like, how did I write before? What was my writing style before I had a proper 9 to 5? When you're not like in a proper job or whatever, and you got all this time, I'm just like bouncing off the walls or whatever. You don't have any resources, but now it's 9 to 5. Yeah. And then it's, now I have to dial up again because I'm like, an office job is like, it's whittled me down a little bit. So I'm like, how did Fost of a year or 2 ago write these videos? So
Yeah. So for people watching, the stuff she created in the past was very curated, an 80s aesthetic, really cinematic. I was so impressed by it. The sort of, what was the old 4x3?
So the sort of 4x3 format. Most of the vibe was cultivated through I guess you could say, I don't know if, I'm not quite sure what they have where you are, if that Adult Swim is syndicated over there in some form, or if there's an Adult Swim after 9. Are you familiar? Okay. No. So Cartoon Network has this, or they had a block back in the day. If you were a kid around, say, the late 90s, early 2000s, they had this adult block of animation that would come on, say, 9-10 p.m. So when you saw King of the Hill come on, you were like, turn off the TV. And that's probably why I didn't watch King of the
Time to go to bed.
But at the same time, it had this almost personable angle because it was, I don't know, it was just, are you familiar with public access television stuff? I'm not quite sure. Do you know what that is?
No. Yeah.
Before 2008, from like the 80s to 2008 in America, a lot of local TV broadcasts would allow people the airtime and like after hours times to essentially air their own programming. A lot of it turned out to be like people on a talk show, quote unquote. It was like this a little bit, but like less technologically advanced. So you'd get weird stuff. You get weird, unhinged characters. One guy dressed up like the devil, some goth guy singing. You had a little bit of everything, really. Yeah. So it was primarily based off of that and my vague memories of 4 a.m. So,
yeah. Yes. Yeah. The one reference I have to that is John Mayer kind of ripped that off in his music video. He's had one big hit in the last few years.
Goes to show, because I have no idea
of the song,
who that is. So I bet he did.
John Mayer, oh gosh. Yeah, well, this is the thing. Okay, we've gone completely off script and we've just started. But the thing that interests me about you is, I haven't asked you your age, but you're considerably younger than me, but you have this strong affinity to like the 80s and like physical media and all that stuff. Where does that come from?
You know what? There's a couple of aspects to that. So I'm a 90s baby. I was born in the ass half of the 90s. So for me, I had this big set of tapes at home. We didn't have a lot back in the day. So some of the stuff we had were tapes. It could be like Toy Story 2, whatever the heck they were putting out at the time. And so tapes these days are pretty abundant if you know where to go, like your local Goodwills, your thrifting shops, your things like that. And I don't know if but like the proper retro gaming market, like 3DSs, PS Vitas, things like that are exploding in price. And they're not very fun to collect because it feels like there's not that many out there, but I know there's millions of them. And I don't know why it's so expensive, but obviously it's the same reason that CRTs and stuff are blowing up in price. And it makes stuff a lot less fun to collect. But because VHSs are a audiovisual format that's no longer used and can no longer be played by like modern stuff, they're easy to collect, they're cheap. And on top of that, a lot of them have really cool art. A lot of them have like pack-ins and stuff. They're like a remnant of a bygone era. And I think the reason I like them is not only because they're cheap, but also, I don't know, there's just a warm, glowing vibe. Now, do you own a CRT? Because you may be able to understand my point here.
No,
That's so funny. You seem like a man that would own three of them.
Beautiful,
I don't know.
old.
I get a vibe off you. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like an
No, I just feel like everyone, the guys from Retro Handheld, those guys have three of those TVs in the background in every video they make. So I'm just like, I assume everyone to get their Retro Handheld YouTuber card, they were required to have three. I only have one. I had three briefly, but it's these booming speakers, it's the audio, it's the laying in bed at night. You're not watching in the best format you can, but you're watching in this sort of glowing format, if you get me.
Yes. Yes. We went actually a weekend away and they had VHS tapes of Mary Poppins and all these things, and my kids watched them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really
Did
cool.
they?
But CRTs, I'm sorry, the CRT thing, like I just struggle to get access to nice ones. Like I want a nice looking, like I don't want the crappy ones that came out towards the end of the CRT era. Those like terrible LG, gray, ugly, I want a nice olden day CRT.
So it's so funny. I actually just upgraded from a small 9-inch black combo VCR TV and all that. And my big thing was that I almost drove 40 miles for one of those, as you say, one of those big, ugly silver ones. This one's a DVD VCR combo, so it's considerably larger. Let me tell you, I didn't end up doing it. 40 miles for me in a car with no spare wheel. That was a little bit of a tough sell for me. And it was $120. And I got to tell you, that was a scam. So I waited. Then a guy sold me one for 60. So I was like, but I can see why you don't want the silver one for sure. Cause they're a little unsightly, but there's almost kind of like an ugly quality to it that I really enjoy. Just throw a couple of stickers on it. You'll be fine. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the combos. If I can find that like you had just the VHS and the TV combo, that I probably would go for. Because it's got that nostalgia. They were so like ugly and weird.
Oh yeah. No, it's hard to, I had my previous combo TV just sitting on like a very small nightstand, and now I've got this humongous like thing that's twice the size sitting in the same spot. And I'm like, hopefully it doesn't tip over, fall and all that or whatever. So yeah, but no, for sure.
Yeah. Well, at school, they were always on a trolley and they would like wheelie them around. I'm pretty sure at least twice in my lifetime.
Oh, y'all had the TV carts as well. I got you. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Wheel it in, watch a National Geographic VHS tape.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of these tapes. What was it? Was the intro to these tapes would be like zooming through like a white museum setting, and there's elephants and there's toucans flying around. There's like an astronaut somewhere. You probably see what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, no, and you can hear the music. I know you know what it is.
Old memory.
Oh man, yeah.
So you're like passionate about all that, like unlocking those old memories and the nostalgia.
Yeah, no, there's so many tapes I own currently that I need to digitize in their entirety, because there is a lot of really great stuff I own, like instructional videos from like a grill from 25 years ago. Can you believe that? George Foreman grill VHS tape instructional video. That's coming at some point.
So random.
That's getting digitized first, buddy. I tell you what, that's the first one.
That's like early 90s.
Yeah, it's like they're like, here's how you use a grill, and it's a lady who's not George Foreman's on the box, not the lady, of course, but it's So here's how to use a grill. She wasn't that old. She wasn't that old, but she's probably old now. The tape it's 15 minutes. It's the lightest tape you've ever held, and it's not long. It's like 15 minutes, so it's cool.
But don't you find the people from that era, there must have been a studio somewhere in America or a part of America that this was happening, because they all have the same style of speaking.
You know what? I hear what you're saying, and as someone who has been a presenter in a couple of different industries, I got to tell you, I hear exactly what you're saying with that. I briefly, before COVID, of course, around that time, I was working as a voiceover person across a couple of projects. And for me, interesting little tidbit for me was I just could not stop talking like an announcer all the time, because it was my job and I did it for 9 hours a day. So I'd be like, so go down to India and go get some stuff, like something like that. I was like a travel advisor a little bit in these videos, and I was like, so it's when we're talking about like speaking and presenting stuff, each industry is like a preferential thing. It's weird.
a way of speaking. Yeah, that's true. Because in South Africa, even such a small country, we've got but there's like that was in the olden days.
Now they just like talk. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. It drives me nuts because we have some of the smaller kids where the guys still try to do that. So they'll be like, hey everyone, welcome to 35.2 FM, and we're going to look at the traffic.
Okay, so we have that kind of,
dude, it's turning.
Yeah, we have that kind of thing in a lot of places, but it's interspersed with very like loud, like Peter Griffin Family Guy noises occasionally. I live in a weird place, and it's just booms, and then it's Hey Lois and all that stuff, and it's so wild what's on the radio. We have some wild stuff happening here. Yeah. But that's probably for later just because there's too much of that. It's a kid. I saw a 20-foot tall shopping cart driving down the road, man. There's a lot of shit happening here. No, it's...
Yeah, America, man. It's got some variety, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump into your channel because people watching this might know you from before, and now you started something completely new.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're still in the development phase of even what you're going to put on that channel. But again,
actually, that's really funny you say that because I did a lot of like hard looking at what I wanted to do. And really, I was most happy. Oh, yeah. So y'all can see this here. This is Rewind with Care. Pretty bare bones right now. By the time you see this, there might be something on there. Yeah. It may not be. What's coming on here is basically, and the big reason I had to do this major sort of mild rebrand, despite it being highly similar to what I was doing before actually, is a little bit of good enough for me as a brand has been a lot of things over the years. And it's been retro handhelds. It's been a little bit of retro. It's been some CRT stuff. It's been all sorts of things over the year. And because of that, it's a little fragmented. And because of that, I wanted to retool for all my technical YouTube analytical people out there. A big part of it was that it is an 8-year-old channel, despite it being a 2-year-old project. And there's a lot of stuff from prior to this. And because of that, it's either try and reignite a channel back into being monetized, which is a lot harder than just starting a new one and then gaining a gradual edge. A lot of it was technical, but I just wanted a fresh new paint generally to start from and then be able to direct the ship, so to speak, in the way I wanted to. Because when you have a lot of baggage over here, it's not always the easiest to pivot. But with something like the new channel here, you can obviously expect, obviously your handheld reviews. I think the guy from Retro Dodo actually said it best because I saw the video he put out recently. And I got to tell you, I feel bad for that man because he's reviewing 3 Anbernic handhelds a month. I used to say vertical stuff was like, wow, this is great. How quirky and interesting. Yes. But then after the 6th one, I was like, there's only so many shapes you can make it. You can make a Game Boy effectively. And so because of that, you could see in his eyes, you could just see the perils of war that he has gone through. And oh God, am I ever going to see my wife and kids again or whatever? Oh my God. So him making a pivot to hopefully not review everything for his own sanity. That was actually one of the reasons the channel slowed down for me. Cause it was like, I kept receiving these things and I was overly frustrated by the amount of them. And it was like, I said often in the older videos, and I'll probably keep saying it in the new ones. This is a box that does stuff. It's a brick, right? With a battery in it. Oh, wow. It can play a Game Boy game. Oh, wow.
Like, this does
what the other 90 of them do. Wow, guys, we are breaking some new ground here. And you know what? Since I got done, there's significantly more handhelds capable of GameCube and PS2. So it's becoming, before it was like, I was excited to get PSP. Now it's the big ones, GameCube, PS Vita, and all that other stuff, and PS2 and such. Now that's becoming a more general thing, just with the RG Cube and I'd say just a whole couple of other things. And so soon that's going to maybe be a bit of a redundancy, possibly. But yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah, the big pivot here is that with Rewind with Care, I'm going to basically review the stuff not only I can get my hands on, but also the stuff that I view as worthy of talking about. Because I feel if you put in, I don't know how Russ does it. I pay attention to what Russ does these days, but it's like that man never stops. It's so crazy. I don't know how he does it. Yeah. So, focusing on...
I don't know how he does it either.
Yeah. But yeah, focusing in on, just to tie to this up, focusing in on the stuff I care about, which handhelds, right? But I've got a couple of things lined up in terms of some Steam Deck stuff as well. And then for the people who were like, oh, and I got a couple of comments recently. They were like, I came for the retro handhelds. I stayed for the sort of VHS weird CRT stuff you're doing. And that's not going away. 4x3 confirmed.
Yeah.
So that's never stopping. That's never going to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I really enjoy what you did in the past, like that whole aesthetic. So anything like that is going to be enjoyable. But I think you're one of those people, like everyone's on a different spectrum. Our brains are in different places. Like Russ is just like I don't know, he's like a machine. I know he does probably struggle with boredom, but I don't think he does. I think there's a spectrum of it.
Oh yeah.
And I think I see someone like you as being like very much on the creative side, and someone as creative as you are, you just could never be on the side of the
these
spectrum.
things require
you would literally
like
go insane.
Costume changes and like all sorts of weird stuff, because you'd write the script and then you'd go in there and then you'd do something that wasn't on the script, and they took a long time, and I don't think I ever wanted to cut down on anything. In fact, it's so weird because I don't remember half the moments that I do in these videos, because I'm going to be honest, like sometimes I'm like, holy shit. Oh, can I swear? I'm so sorry. Okay. No, but I'm like, wow, golly, that was some crazy stuff you did there. Sorry. Let me taper myself off real quick. Wow, Fost, that was some crazy stuff you did there, is something what I usually utter sometimes, because I'm like, wow, I should do that. Yes, because I'm never going to say. Yeah. But yeah, I would say you're probably a little bit right on that. On the creative angle, for sure. I'm a little bit more all out there versus pumping it out like a machine. So.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to quickly open up a channel. I hope he doesn't have there we go. I'm just going to do a screen share, because although your aesthetic's very different, just in terms of the way you go about things, you remind me of this guy. Have you ever watched his videos?
I've never seen this before.
So when at the heights, I got into YouTube through the cameras and that sort of thing.
I remember that.
Partly. And he was involved like at the heights of Peter McKinnon and all these big camera brand people, camera name people. But he was like, okay, cool. You guys are doing that. I'm going to make one video a month and script the crap out of it and make a movie. So like some of his videos, if you go through like his review of some products, it's going to be a long time ago now because I haven't watched his channel for a while. But his reviews, he'll be like, okay, we're going to show off the robotic arm from DJI, but we're going to make it as if it's an actual robot that I live with in my studio. And then you like write the whole script.
That's awesome. Okay. All right.
I'm going to
have to check this out afterwards. That sounds...
make art now.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds cool though. That's awesome. Yeah.
Because like I said, not everyone has the capacity to, like, I'm pretty happy to chug away, putting out reviews, that kind of thing. But at the same token, like you mentioned, people were just sending you stuff. Like for instance, I have one, I don't want to mention them, but I have one company that just, without any like contract in place, not even a yes/no agreement on email, they just send me things.
Do you have a public PO box or something? Or is it like, what do you?
No, I mean, I reached out to him once for something. I was like, cool, I'd love to do a review of this product on your website. So cool, send you that product. And then the next thing is, hey, Adin, the such and such thing is in the post. Let me know when the video is up. And I'm like,
oh my God, let me know when the video is up. Okay, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, I'm never going to make a video about that.
You know what? It's funny. I had a similar issue, not quite can't get it down there. Ooh. But I had a very similar issue because even now, people will email me to the business email for Good Enough For Me. And they'll be like, hey, do you want to review these Steam Deck cases? And I'm like, it's a dime a dozen. I still have review stuff from a year and a half ago in a box. Like I have not opened it, I have not touched it. I'm just like, one time I got offered a South Korean exercise bike. I think it was a scam. Don't know if it was real or not. The thing never got to the door. So I guess I just handed out my address to someone. What are you going to do, Adin? What are you going to do? It's probably why I have a notification right this second that said, have an expected delivery. Guess what? I don't know if it's going to be a bike. I don't know. Wouldn't it be weird if a year and a half later it found its way to me eventually? like a real Thor's hammer situation. Like a real, I've been holding my hand out for a year and a half. Now the bike is here, but I'm not expecting it now.
Classic. That's hilarious. It's so weird because Marissa, who I spoke to, she's the first episode of this new season, and she's more in your area of like physical media.
For sure.
She's more interested in, and she does the modding of Game Boys. And I'm noticing a very clear like disconnect, but not disconnect, but like different audiences for those two things. But she also mentioned she gets emails for lawn chairs.
Oh my God, I want the lawn chair so bad. I would. Oh my God, can you imagine the panning shots I would do to that chair? You imagine these strange camera. Oh my God, the review would be 25 minutes of me just sitting there making groans, just see what sort of angle.
Yeah. Holding olden day cocktails.
Oh yeah, no. Watch me down a 12 pack of Dr. Pepper and just see what happens.
Yes, you see exactly. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah, no, but that's just, I gotta find out who she's talking to.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I think you were about to say it earlier, but I think you said that's the episode that you enjoyed recently.
Yeah. So I was just brushing up on my Adin Walls lore a little bit because, being truthful, I'm a little busy these days. So I was like, let me watch a couple of things. Let me just so I don't come in looking like a dummy, like how these things work. So I did watch that episode, and God, she seems so nice. That was the first thing I noticed. Yeah. And the channel was like super cool. I checked out a few videos. That was pretty cool. Yeah, she's like a really cool person. Like I feel like she was probably one of the cool kids at school. Yeah, and she's just hilarious, naturally hilarious. I actually messaged her today because every time I think there's the moments in the podcast where she's like, I had to catch a duck. And then she just sits there exasperated. Okay.
And every time I get that, I just laugh out loud. That's very
wow. You said catch a duck? Is that what you said? So, I'm sorry, I glazed over it for a minute. My eyes went in the back of my head for a second. I was like, what do you catch a duck? Is it like a literal duck or like a...
Exactly. That's what was so funny. Because she's and like you picture it, she lives in New York, and she had to chase down into the subway with her girlfriend. So you just picture these two girls running down.
They're very passionate.
Yeah. And then she just raises, I had to catch a duck. And then she just sits there and stares at me. Anyway,
wow.
It was hilarious. Good times. Yeah. Catch an actual duck, yes.
Definitely.
And then her and someone else got into the discussion of how to catch the duck, because someone else that follows my channel and us have spoken to on the podcast also had to catch a duck. I'm like, what world do we live in?
I'm not from New York. Here would be like an armadillo or perhaps like a wild hog. We don't have subways, but we have a really ineffective public transit system. It's called the bus. So I've never seen a boar or anything out there, but maybe I should do something with that. I don't know.
Yeah, she's into rescuing animals.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So what part of the world?
Oh yeah, no, of course. I'm right smack dab in the middle of old Texas, I tell you what. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Big states. Yeah. Anytime someone tells me something about like where they're living in the US, it's always like you realize it's such a vast country.
Yeah. My British friend doesn't understand that I can't just do a 20-minute drive gets me like a mile or 2 or 3 maybe down the road. For them, it's like they've driven across an entire beautiful, the Hobbit type countryside, and they've seen everything there is to see.
Yes.
They leave the Shire and then they're immediately at Mordor or whatever is down the street. Me, I'm like right next to a McDonald's or an Arby's or something, and I'm just praying I get there faster. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been an eye opener because I think I grew up fairly sheltered. I haven't traveled much and all that sort of thing. So talking to everyone on the podcast, and you just watch American movies. That's like what everyone watches growing up. And then you have this pretty one-sided view of something. And like someone said to me, and they've said a very, not ignorant, a very like laser-focused thing, generalizing about Americans, about this one small fact. And I was like, it's a massive country.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different types of people with different beliefs.
Yeah, no, you know what? America, it's basically a bunch of small countries trying to operate together somehow. It's,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I used to live briefly in Hawaii, actually, and it's wildly different. I know it's not continental. Okay. I know it's not attached or anything, but it's a wildly different culture to say the one I'm currently in right now. So I moved around a lot as a kid, so I've seen a little bit of small town, a little bit of big cities, and everything else. So for sure.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of like despondency in the US about the US, but it dawned on me meeting all of you guys from over there, and I've realized the one thing that makes it such a great place is the fact that everyone is allowed to live how they want to live. And that's what makes it so multifaceted and different.
I think you're right on the money there for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So take us, I think we've already got an idea of this up, but I have it in the script. I'm going to ask you, take us through a life in the Fost.
I wake up at 6 a.m. I'm a little groggy. I don't quite know where I'm at. All I know is, have I fallen asleep on the couch? Have I fallen asleep in the bed? I usually have a Steam Deck away from me, about 2 feet away from me at all times, just because I'm home a lot, right? So I wake up. Are you looking at a literal sense? I brush my teeth. I use Colgate whitening.
That's what we want. We want to know the brands of the products you use.
We can get some branding placements. I can hold the logo for a Dr. Pepper out for you if you want, of course. I already had the last Dr. Pepper in the mini fridge, so it's not going to work for you, but So I wake up in the morning, I get ready. I go to work like most people, unfortunately, even though I don't want to. But if we're talking weekends, like right now, I wake up, but slightly later. I'm probably on a call with a couple of Australians. I've learned a lot of local customs recently. That's all. Australians? Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're funny little ones, huh?
Yes, let's move on, because I've noticed a few things that you've been doing, and I was like, I need to ask what is going on. You've been doing these
no, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. What's happening with the VR chats? You're meeting people.
So so VR chat is such an interesting thing, because relatively recently, within I'd say within the last year, right? I had received a laptop from a very generous person. If you're watching, buddy, I know you know who you are. So when I got this laptop, it had a graphics card that was strong enough to start doing work and editing and playing some slightly higher games. It's got a 1060 in it, or a T2000, whatever it is. So I hopped on there because I saw this documentary on HBO Max. I can't remember what it was called, but it's the only one of its kind where they had done a documentary entirely fully in VR. So they did these sick panning shots inside of these worlds. It followed the stories of 6 or 7 select archetypal people. One person's a burlesque dancer. One person is someone who's just dating someone virtually. They got married at the end of it. Spoilers, they lead up to that immediately. And a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, cool.
So you've got these different facets of this sort of virtual thing. I don't know if you've seen the thing Ready Player One. It's like that. Yeah. So it's a lot like that. And so I dipped in. I didn't have VR initially, desktop user. But you go through these worlds and you hear all sorts of horrible things, but then occasionally you'll meet some neat people. And occasionally you can throw yourself into almost a different culture, because there are worlds that are primarily Russian, or there's the one that I visit, it's a little Japanese, so you learn a little bit about stuff there. Not everything's hunky-dory. You'll hear and see a lot of terrible things here, but it's like life, really. You'll see and hear a lot of terrible things.
Okay.
So VR chat has just been this neat little place where I've met a couple of really interesting people. Hi, Gwen. I don't know if you're seeing this, but hello. Hi, Gwen. Yeah, but it's been really fun. And it's a very different experience, because I find myself playing Warframe or No Man's Sky, and then there's this. And so it's just been a really great little time. Did you have any questions in particular? Because I know it can seem so alien. And I think my opinions on VR have shifted since playing it. I still think it's a piece of tech that doesn't have a lot of mainstream appeal. I think once you acclimatize to it, I think there's really something special there for sure. Yeah.
Yes, actually, something that took me one step further into thinking, because you hear people's opinions. Someone went to when Mark Zuckerberg invested everything into the metaverse, and they went to go check out the studios, and the person was like, I think this is a big mistake, blah, blah, blah. And so that's where I left it. I was just like, it sounds like it's all a big load of nonsense. And then a show that I enjoy, I don't know if you've watched Travels with My Father. It's a British guy, and he travels around with his dad. What's his name? Jack Whitehall. Jack Whitehall, the comedian. Anyway, he's a funny guy, and he travels around with his dad, but then he did, Parenthood with my father, where he has a baby. And so he does all these things where what is the future going to be for my child? I need to learn. And so it's like just an excuse to make a fun reality show. He does like an exercise thing, a dance studio. But he goes to this place, like this little strip mall in the middle of America somewhere, like those typical little malls that have got 6 shops. And the one little room was VR. And this lady there, she goes once a day to do her dance. And when I saw that in practice, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah. I've only been made aware that full body tracking is a thing relatively recently. And I think it is such a niche thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the hand tracking and stuff from like me, I use a MetaQuest 2, but I run it through an app. So I'm not running native stuff off the headset, but it's that is an option for a lot of people. But full body tracking is a whole other thing. I have a pal who he just starts dancing. His legs are moving, he's dancing, he's screaming, he's hollering. And I'm just like, I want to be able to do that. I tell you. So
that is cool. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where the technology and the space to use the technology is in the infancy.
I would say it's probably going to remain a niche product for a pretty long time. For people who want it, it's there, right? Yeah. But I think Mark Zuckerberg for sure is still trying to get his money's worth. I've looked at kind of the sales for like originally the MetaQuest 3. Obviously didn't sell as much as the 2, but that could have been because of the price hike between the 2 versions. And if you don't know the difference and you're casual like me about like lenses and stuff, you're probably not going to care that much. Valve's probably due out for another VR headset at some point here because the Valve Index is pretty old at this point. And now at this point, when the Valve Index released, you didn't really have the kind of technology advancements that they've done with the Quest headsets and stuff. So it's, again, niche industry, but we're still in the convincing stage. I don't think we're going to hit an era of wild acceptance for VR headsets until they get smaller and more compact. You don't need big things on the corners of your house to get good tracking on yourself anymore, especially with VR and AR and things like that. The headsets got smarter, but people are still about as interested as they were before, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that, because now also even my XR headsets, which is literally just a screen on your eyes, it takes a while for people to understand why I think they are so cool. Like these little OLED screens projecting to my eyes. Like I used it this week. I played some games in bed while my wife was sleeping. It's just so cool because now I'm gaming. Like I'm fully in the Wolfenstein universe. My wife's sleeping and I'm not bothering her at all. There's no lights on. I'm in dark. It's obviously terrible for my eyes. But when people, I'm going to make a video. I'm actually good. Like that's one video I'm quite excited about. It's me like super cinematic and all that. I'm going to say how I use XR glasses. Yeah. And it's probably mostly just going to be shots of me lying around
honestly,
the house,
just the whole video should be just a static angle of you laying on your couch, just slumped over. Yeah. No, I'd watch that. Absolutely. Yeah. You're not even saying anything. You're enjoying your time and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so like one of the most relaxing times I've had in months was me. My wife took the kids to the shops and I lay on the couch and I played a game on the Steam Deck and I had a controller. So I wasn't even holding the Steam Deck. So I found a nice light controller. My whole body just turned into mush and I was just
when it comes to stuff like this, I always go back to when my parents, when I was a kid, they were always like enough screen time or stop looking at the phone or stop looking at the TV so much. And I think we've evolved to the point where we've just said, no, I'm just going to stick like a 2-inch OLED display in front of my eyes for about 6-7 hours. And then you've got me with my lenses on the VR headset and they are approximately this close to my eyeballs. They're maximized to be directly in front of my eyeballs is what we're dealing with. I just think look at us. We're moving forward. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk hobbies. Are you into anything apart from the VR thing, experiencing the world?
So I've got some really niche interests. I'm going to be really honest with you. You're probably not expecting this, but I do in fact collect DVDs as well. No, but that's true. But on the side, and I actually have to, it's so funny because over the last year and a half, a lot of my jackets just don't quite fit the same way. So I had these like immaculate cultivated jackets that I would alter And it was like the same ones that you'd see me wearing about a year and a half ago. And so I'd get patches on them, or I'd color them a different color or something like that. And that's a cool hobby. I like altering some clothes. I like making things mine, I guess you could say. That's been a big one. In terms of other hobbies, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit boring. Sometimes I'll just connect to whatever I can to the TV in my room and just say, hey, if we're just talking stuff outside, I like long walks on the beach and a coffee while I drive at 65 down the road. So it's a hobby of mine too. I also, that's me right there. Yes. These days I'm actually, the reason there's so little is just because I don't have as much time anymore. I realized in my life, I have just about enough time to cut out enough time to like work on a video a week. And for me, my singular hobby before, which was funny enough, one of the big reasons I had to take a step back was that my only hobby that I was doing really at the time was YouTube. And that was, I don't know if you've ever just ate and slept and the next thing you woke up and thought about was like numbers, right? On YouTube, right? I mean, you probably you've probably seen the stress, felt the stress of it, trying to get something out and all that. And for me, like it was taking a toll on my health beyond whatever I put out there. So my only hobby at the time was really videos and stuff and like making, but like after a year and a half, I want one of my hobbies to be making stuff again, like in some form for sure. Yeah. Cool. So making stuff, watching stuff, and drinking coffee occasionally, I guess, is the answer. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, we've been trying to be good and not spend too much money on coffee. And my wife said to me, "There's a really nice coffee shop down the road. We have great coffee here, by the way." So I live in a very small town in South Africa, and she was like, "Adin, maybe we should get a coffee." And I was like, you took my language. And then we never did. So now I've got this like craving for a good coffee. And
you know what? The coffee that I usually have in my town is, and this isn't like a paid promotion or anything, but I get the mocha frap from McDonald's. I only recently discovered that there's barely any coffee in it, if at all. So I guess I don't drink coffee. I guess I just drink a slurry of ice and like chocolate or something. I don't know. I don't know what I've been doing.
Oh gosh. That's so funny.
You've been scammed.
Yeah.
You've been scammed.
They never said coffee was in it. That was all me. So I guess I can't come after them for that. They never said there was coffee in it. It's not like I read the ingredients at the drive-thru. So I wanted to believe that I was a coffee person, but I guess I'm not.
Yeah. What are you playing on your deck?
You know what? For just such a question, I actually have it right here. I came prepared. I thought I was going to get a great shot vertically of all the stuff on this table. Turns out, no. So right this second, I'll be at work and all I'll be doing is playing Vampire Survivors, actually. No Man's Sky. I've got Doom, the 1993 version had a re-release or an update for a couple of people that added a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Shoot. You know what? Every time someone asks me what I play, it is always so difficult because I'm always like, I play some indie games. Like anything from Devolver Digital. I'm currently running through Carry On right now. It's a reverse horror game. My Friend Pedro is probably one of the best ones. But if we're just talking sheer play hours and just mindlessly just chugging through it, probably Vampire Survivors right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, what am I playing? I was a huge fan of the original one, the OG.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I missed the whole like guys getting deep into first person shooters, the height of it where like people were like dying on their couches playing first person shooting. Surprised when I got my Steam Deck and all that, I found that I really like first person shooters. I grew up on Wolfenstein. So I'm playing it's not a remake. It's when they start up a franchise again. So Wolfenstein 1 and 2.
Oh, those are great, actually. I think Epic was giving out one of the first free one in that new sort of the Wolfenstein games. I'm running through the second one now, and it's really good, honestly. Yeah, I'm...
New Colossus.
Yeah, the new Colossus. Yeah, I'm still the strongest fan of the Switch version, honestly, just because my like in 2020... God, what was it? It was like 2018, 2019, something like that. That came out. I was like, it blew my little mind. Honestly, I still cannot believe they shoved that thing on there. I can because all the faces are like mush, but you know what I mean? It's but no, it's crazy that they did that, honestly. Yeah. And now that I'm like playing it on the Steam Deck, I'm running everything at like high settings at 40 or whatever. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice. I enjoy it. I enjoy that it's like complete mayhem, but there's still a little story in there.
Yeah, some people would argue there's almost too much of it, but I'm not one of those people. I know I said it like I'm one of those people, but actually I really enjoy it. So no, I love that stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm all about story-rich games. If there's a good story in it, I'm in. Like I feel like I say it too much, but when I got my Steam Deck, The Walking Dead on there. That's
the Telltale Walking Dead.
Yes, the Telltale. That's it. Yes. And I've been playing that through. I think I've now played it through.
Were you playing that around the time that Telltale games were basically like, we can't finish this? Were you an avid player of that at the time? Because if you remember, they actually left the final season unfinished like halfway through because they were still doing like a season pass, and then they were releasing episodes every so amount of weeks. I remember where I was when that happened. Actually, I was in a car and my car broke down, and that's the only reason I remember. So I was devastated. I was like, they're not going to finish it. And then I think it was Skybound or something that came around or something.
Skybound.
How do I remember those names? What's going on with me?
Yeah, so I just bought the full package.
Getting on. Yeah, definitely.
All the focus on old media is making your
It's not that old. That was like 5. God, dude, 5, 6 years ago? It's not that long ago. Is that a long time ago?
Nah, it's not that long ago.
That's ages, for sure. Like, a lot of developments have happened. And honestly, I've wanted to follow up on like gaming media and stuff because in like the last year, honestly, I've been paying like a lot more attention to it. I find a lot of interesting conversation with the games industry at large. And I think, I don't know. Yeah, it's so wild, all the stuff that's been happening, right? Just
I don't keep too into that sort of thing. Oh, what sort of things?
Massive company layoffs. I think the time when Microsoft basically fired 10,000 workers across the entire business was just insane. Probably a couple of other things, like the shedding of the campaign team over at Halo Infinite or whatever, which is definitely not doing them any favors. And of course, the Bungie buyout from Sony and all the stuff going on with the ownership of them. There's a whole lot of like industry stuff going on right now that I'm waiting to see how it pans out. But I think, I'm personally looking for a better way to talk about it. You wouldn't happen to know of any wanting gaming news podcasts that are looking for someone to talk some smack.
Who's actually, they talk about this sort of thing a lot, is the Nerd Nest. They talk about that sort of thing quite a lot. Because everything you said, just
I saw it. Wow. You were glazing over. You were going to sleep. You were putting on your XR glasses or whatever while I was talking about it. You're like, I'm gonna go play Wolfenstein or whatever it is I'm gonna go do. Yeah, you're glazing over.
It's Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's my go-to game, my retro game. What is your go-to retro game?
You know what? I got to tell you, whenever my boss is yelling at me, I usually pull out Dr. Mario. Yeah, I think it's Dr. Mario. It's poor man's Tetris, but I like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, when I was waiting for you to get back, I was throwing this thing around. I was like playing and I was like, oh, this is great. This is a good time waster. Yeah.
Dr. Mario. Yeah, I never got into Dr. Mario because I know I had a fan growing up and I know it came out on Famicom under the NES, but I remember when Russ mentioned it to me and he's like, my wife loves Dr. Mario. And I was like, what is Dr. Mario?
What is Dr. Mario?
Yeah, it's weird. My knowledge of these things is very, like, I'll know a lot about one thing and then absolutely nothing about another.
To be fair, I don't know how I know about Dr. Mario. The history behind playing that for me is probably not the way other people played it. I still have it. I sold pretty much all my old cartridges just because I needed to at the time. The one I kept, though, was this 32-in-1 bootleg cartridge from wherever it's from. And it had 1,000 games on it, but none of them were called Dr. Mario. They were Dr. Mario in ROM, but like in name, they were like Dr. John or Dr. Peter.
All right.
And then you would turn it on and there wouldn't be any like graphical hacks or anything. It would say Dr. Mario, but I'd be like, I'm going to play Dr. Mario or Dr. Peter or whatever the heck they were calling it. Me being 6 or 7 was just,
I just got this.
I was wondering why I didn't say it. Turns out it's probably an illegal recreation sold on some sort of market. So I don't know, but
sorry, I just wanted to. I got this recently, a 66
Oh, that's
in
so
one.
cool. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Where did you get it from, by
so
the
I
way?
got
Where did you get that?
So a guy swapped the Trim UI Smart Pro. He gave me I got this, and I got a copy of Super Mario World,
Okay. That's
the
awesome.
Game Boy. And I've already didn't own it, but I emulated it and played it. It's one of the first games I played all the way through when I got my RG350M. So it was nice to get the cartridge.
You wouldn't happen to know anyone who has a
feel legal.
cartridge ripper of some sort? Because I tell you, I am looking, because this thing I've got just has like bootleg games like crazy. And I know you can acquire them, but I'm like the bootleg setup where you pick the games. I always think that's just neat. I don't know how they did it. You got to get one of them cart rippers or something.
Yes, because you get the flash carts that you can put the ROMs on. But funny playing, they've got a cart ripper that you need to make. So you buy all the parts and you put it together. And I think, because what I was trying to get into after Marissa told me about it, is you can make your own cartridges. And so because I struggle with access here, I was thinking maybe I could make my own Darkwing Duck cartridge with a ROM. Because a lot of these rippers, you need the original cartridge to make the new cartridge, which obviously doesn't help me if I can't get my hands on the original cartridge. So I think the funny playing one is the one to go for.
Yeah. I don't know what the market for retro games is over there, but do you have trouble like finding them? Is there not many like mom and pop shops or anything like that?
Yeah, I live in a small town, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
So all our thrift shops very seldom will have games. It feels like I missed it by like when you're like, oh, they're plentiful. And then 2 years later, let's say you want to buy a Game Boy and you're like, there's so many Game Boys around. And then you leave it for 5 years and then you look at it and they're like $500 or whatever.
Oh, wow.
There we go. I think that's what I did with NES cartridges and all that sort of thing. I just can't get access to this stuff, man. I want a Famicom. I want to get NES cartridges and I want to get Game Boy cartridges. And a friend just went to Greece. She messaged me. She was in a thrift store in Greece and she's like, hey, Adin, look at all these Game Boy cartridges. So it's an anomaly to see those things. So yeah. Bit of a frustration, but I feel like it's worth the journey. It's fun to find these things because when you find it, it's just
I got, you know what, there's a lot of places here, but truthfully, there's a million ways for me to play Doom at this current time. Look at this thing. Yes. It's specifically built for this, basically. And I went over to that place. No one's carrying Doom on GBA these days, right? This is probably an important topic someone should do at some point about like emulation and keeping stuff alive, because where are you going to get Shrek Kart Racing? What, from a guy for $45? Am I really going to spend that on Shrek Kart Racing on Game Boy Advance? Do I want to watch Powerpuff Girls at 64 pixels by 64 pixels? Do I want to do this? Have you seen that Game Boy Advance video? I could talk for years about it.
Game Boy Advance video.
What? Yeah. So there were these cartridges back in the early 2000s, right? So this was around the time of, and maybe you don't know this, there were these things called Video Nows. They were small handheld, like physical media players. They didn't play DVDs. They played their own proprietary format discs, right? And the screens were, I'd say, 1.5 inches across by 1.5 inches across. So you had these first version black and white display, right? So this was setting the stage. You'd see commercials all the time where I live for these things, like back in the day. But Game Boy Advance Video was obviously Game Boy Advance screen, but you've got these chunky condensed episodes of, you're looking it up. Okay, great. Good. You at least have something to take a look at. So they released these cartridges, right, from a couple of different companies. They had multiple episodes from cartoons. Cartoon Network was a big thing. So they had like Powerpuff Girls with Johnny Bravo and things on it. And so these condensed, like the resolution was bad, the frame rate was bad, but at the time there wasn't a lot of other ways to watch this media. They had Shrek and Shark Tale on one cartridge, and I don't know if you know how much storage there is on these cartridges, but I think they actually used the higher end storage for these particular ones to get both movies on them, and it's insane.
It's crazy. There we go. That's insane.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know about this. And you can get the ROMs for these too if you want to watch Johnny Bravo on your thing over here in the way that people would have experienced it back in the day. It is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen it
Yeah.
in passing, but I just thought it was, I don't know, I just didn't.
Yeah, no,
it
it's
didn't
when I'm
track
like
on my
into
radar.
physical media, I'm like, oh, the physical media, like how people were able to watch stuff back in the day. Because back in the day, it was like, it just wasn't that many options. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so we've talked about this because,
Oh, yeah.
and I actually spoke to Marissa about this. There's not a lot of like cute.
I see what
devices
you
out
mean.
there,
Yeah.
and this is one of them. Yeah, and I felt it was this one, and the Retro Pocket Mini.
I have looked into
you
that.
looked at
Yeah, the Retroid Pocket Mini that was the one that they were selling along with the 5, correct? I just want to make sure I'm
selling along.
they were.
So they've got the big one. And the little
I
one.
did see that.
Yeah.
I looked at vaguely what the specs were. It's something of an Odin 1 kind of spec or something along those lines, like the chips. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the RG Cube. I honestly want to pick up one of those. And Bernick, listen, I know we haven't talked in a while, but if you want to come to my door, you're welcome. Come inside. We'll brew some coffee or something. We'll talk. Lee, I know you're out there.
Some fake coffee.
But yeah, no, so the RG Cube, I've actually been super interested in it because I don't know if you saw the guy from Wolf Den talk about it. He had the pink one. And for me, like that one, he was totally on the money.
I can't remember what he said.
Because it does look like a 2000s era structurally. It looks like something out of that era. And I think that's why I'm interested in it. But also I'm like, GameCube and PS2 and kind of this format is something I've been waiting for a while. Also, it's mildly
Cool.
because I don't have one in hand, I don't know. But how pocketable is it? No one I've seen has done a pocket test. No, it's the sticks, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure I did. The sticks aren't too bad because they've still got the Switch style sticks.
Yeah.
So everyone's moving over to the sort of better sticks, but they're not very pocketable. They've still got those, but it's this bulge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
that's a problem.
You know what?
So if you like, okay, today.
Oh, wow. He's doing the review. He's doing the pocket review. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm doing it, man.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. You know? I'm sure you could confidently put a Steam Deck in there. I'm not going to lie. Probably in those pockets. If you can do the Steam Deck, you can do the RG Cube. That's, yeah. But yeah, no, it looks great. It looks larger than I thought it was. I've seen the screen. Yeah.
I'm trying to get some 3DS on here. My favorite thing to emulate on here
is 3DS. What? I just think I was debating between 3DS or getting an RG Cube just because I've seen how well it runs across the board for 3DS. Because I don't know if you've seen the 3DS used sale prices, but I'm not about to give this guy $400. I'm not about to do it. So the RG Cube.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I don't know what happened because everything's ridiculously expensive over here, but we've still got some pretty decent priced 3DSs over here. Yeah. So come over to
I'll pay $1,500 to acquire a $200 3DS. I'll do it. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So so you've got the 3DS, the big screen over here. And
I've seen a couple of reviews on this thing and I'm mystified by it. But like the 1x1 screen certainly allows you to stick everything in there neatly and all that. Yeah.
I've been busy with so many other devices and I just forgot how much I like this. It's so nice. I put a lot of love into this. I did like copious amounts of notes as a setup guide and then I just never had time to do it.
Yeah, I can't remember. Did you happen to do, say,
rainbow? I love the
rainbow.
Oh,
no, that's cool. Yeah. I'm between the awful looking metallic pink looking thing or that one actually. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you happen to do a review yet on it? I can't remember because it's, okay, I thought I saw something from you out there, but I was like, your verdict was probably buy it, correct?
So
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, this white is great.
Yeah.
The problem is this are all pristine white, while the body is like an off-white. It looks like it's been sitting in a house where someone's been smoking.
It adds a little flavor to it, though. The yellowing. Give it 20 years, it'll be even better. It'll all level out. It'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, what were we saying? It is nice. I really like it. Oh, and it's got this wonderful Sega style.
Oh, that's the stuff right there. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought of you with this one. But the reason why I said, have you seen the Retro Pocket Mini? Because I feel you go ahead and commit to, because I feel like you're not going to do, like you mentioned, you're not going to review every single device. The Retro Pocket Mini, although it's going to be a lot more expensive, might suit you better.
Yeah, you know what? I saw it. I looked at a couple of videos from a couple of guys who I think got a couple of really pre-models for sure. And or actually, you know what? It may have been that other thing. No, actually, it was the Aya. It was the Aya Android handle that it's very square. It's very like pointy. And I thought that looked pretty good too. I'm like hedging a little towards that too.
Yes.
I think it's getting into boxes that do stuff territory for me a little bit. Cause it's just, the thing is, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for like GameCube and PS2. So I start trying to figure out like, what am I going to do for it? But if I do pick something up that's like in this sort of power level, and honestly, you can probably expect an RG Cube review at some point here, just because that's probably how this is going to go. Cool. But I've been debating between
it's a great screen.
Yeah, I've been debating between the Retroid Pocket or the RG Cube. I had the RG. Sorry, no, I had Retroid actually pop into a comment section of a tweet I did, because I was like, should I buy the so and so over this? And they were like, no, don't you dare.
Yes,
don't you dare pick them over us.
I see.
And I'm like, are you going to give me something, Rich? What are you doing? Don't you dare. It was sounded like a threat.
Yeah.
We have people. We know where you are. Yeah, but
we have big Texans.
We have big Texans who know where you are. That's what she said. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I just heard that there's big people in Texas.
Oh my God. Yeah, I still won't know what they mean by that, but it's still threatening. I don't. We have semi-large people that exist there in that area. What, are you gonna send them out or something? What are you doing there, guy?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Anyway, I think actually the square screen. Even talking to you now, I realize even though the Retro Pocket Mini is going to be more powerful, this is behind the scenes for people who watch my videos really regularly. I think my Retro Pocket Mini video is going to be like, this is great, but for less money you can get this, and it's just cooler. That's
you heard it here first, or last, or whatever. You heard it here.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think let's jump into that in terms of the only communication I have with you is via Twitter. You mentioned community posts.
Community posts on Good Enough For Me. I had basically cleaned everything out to make everything look more tidy and stuff. And after a while, I just made a community post where I was like posed up with the RG35XX SP as to inspire confidence that there is something working in the background here. And there we go. And there was a lot of really great comments. I haven't really had any issues. I think obviously community posts are for people who actually pay attention to it, or maybe they'll randomly find it, of course. And obviously we've got stuff like this here. And it's just to be like, hey, I'm alive, guys. And there are things happening in the background. And to be truthful, I needed to break the ice a little bit, because I know this is a month ago, but I've been stirring on stuff for a good long while. And the response from the community who does still want something out of me has been really nice. And if y'all are watching at all, just know I really appreciate y'all. Things aren't really changing. But it's just, it's that level of support that is, that's nice.
Okay, cool. So because we've been talking about what Fost is alluding to is coming out on Twitter. And so I'm just having a look at your posts here. Explain that post on Twitter, because I actually missed it. And then I was like, hang on, wait, what?
The initial post, I guess you could call it the coming out post as a Cars fan. If y'all watching, if you're not familiar with me, you've probably sat through the last 60 minutes of this podcast and said, wow, they're really into like old media. I've never been one to, it's so weird because I'm bombastic all the time and stuff, but it's just, I've never really been the one to dial it back just to be whatever. Cause I don't know. I've just never really been that type of person. So for the people who actually read through the tweet, it was like something like things change, stuff changes, like me discovering who I am, but what doesn't change is my want for a copy of Cars 2006 on tape. And that was basically how it was worded. It was hidden in the middle. So if people didn't read through the whole thing or they skimmed it, they weren't going to pick it up. For the longest time, generally, I was pretty scared because by the time I did that, I want to say 3 to 4 months into it, just for people, viewers at home. I'm about 6 months on a sort of medical transition thing. And I'm sure that's going to be a couple of questions right there. What is that? mean, from a physical perspective. But at the time, I was like really scared because I was like, this is a shift. Are people going to still think I'm wacky and quirky? Or like, where does that view of me shift to with that?
Yes.
A big reason I haven't quite thrown this out there that much, because despite telling everyone where I live, I haven't actually told anyone why I disappeared for so long. And a lot of the reason was like 50%, I needed to stop thinking about numbers for a little while because I would wake up and think about YouTube. But the other 50% was I was struggling to exist as I was. And I was looking for what I should do or what can I do. And to be fair, I just didn't realize there were a lot of options, truthfully, despite having a lot of like trans friends and things like that. So definitely. Just in terms of why I stepped away, I had to figure myself out, which has renewed my energy in kind of ways.
Yeah. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about that on the messages on Twitter, and you just spoke about how hard it was getting to that point, and, you know, kind of how relieved you were to make that decision and all that sort of thing. But I think the reason I wanted to talk about it is for me, and I think this is why, like, and I'm glad that you feel brave enough to do this, because I feel like a lot of my audience is my sort of demographic. And like, I don't have any trans people that I know. You're like the first person that I actually have spoken to who's going through this. And so I've been telling my wife and family, they're doing this now. And
that's cute. I'm a talk in the house.
Not easy.
And I love that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I would like for that to be something that we do here. So what am I trying to say? I'll tell a story that I told my family. I was like, she shared a thing on Twitter how not too long ago she could pick this thing up, and now she can't anymore. She had to ask you made a joke about asking a strapping young lad to help you pick up something.
Yeah, that's a funny story, and it's and we can get into the technical aspects of it in a second, but I did say something along those. I was buying my CRT TV from a guy, and I had never been asked, can I lift this for you? And I said, sure. Because if I'm being honest with you, and this is just, I guess, a bit of a teaser to kind of a lot of the physical sort of changes and stuff behind it, but I've lost like a lot of muscle mass, and going back to the clothes and stuff, a lot of my jackets just don't fit anymore in the way that they used to. I'm a bit smaller at this point. So yeah. I do find it fascinating because I didn't realize the amount of changes you go through just purely from the, I don't know what. So the
sort of medical transitioning.
So what you're looking for, it's probably a combination of things, but a lot of people, everyone who decides to or can medically transition is usually on a mix of the primary thing being the hormone. If they're male to female, it's estrogen, it's the female hormone and all that. And for me, I was also, and this differs depending on where you're at and the countries, but a lot of the time people are on like a blocker that suppresses your sort of baseline sort of hormones. I was surprised at how much it changes. I would be obviously you can get a tape measure and everything like that, but when you realize your shirts are different, it's strange for sure. I had to, that's the reason I'm not wearing a denim jacket right now, and I've pivoted to a flannel right this second, because the truth is if I was to wear it, it's a bag on me at this point. So I don't know. So it's a bit of a bag, and that's one of the positive changes. I'm significantly slimmer, like with I guess this would be easier. Do you have a particular question or anything? I just don't want to throw everything at you, and I know we're an organized discussion.
No. Listening, I was just thinking like how much I appreciate you sharing. Because it's like I've been on a journey myself to I don't know. Like I grew up very conservative and all that sort of thing, and like there's just been certain things that have happened through my life that have brought me to a place of accepting this sort of thing, you know, and I really value you sharing.
No, absolutely.
To me.
If I can, and I talk about this with a lot of people, if there's like a way I can maybe help someone, or maybe they find this info, because it's funny, like it's weird. I didn't think I'd be in the position I am at this point, but I came out on Twitter. I know a lot of people, but I didn't realize that so many people were like hiding in a sense. And after they told me, I had someone really close to me come out to me relatively recently. And I guess I was their person to trust because it was like they'd seen what had been happening with me, and they were like, they felt secure enough about it. And then they had that after they talked to me. And we went through all the sort of process and things about it. They came out to their family and they came out to their friends, and they're doing the whole 9 yards really. And I was like, wow, I was able to inspire someone to live more like themselves, I guess is what I'm saying. And because I know how hard it is when it's funny. I have another pal. They were like, I knew. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, you were always, in their words, a little bit fruity. The clothes. Listen, the more I look at it, the more I look at some of the clothes I wore before. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I get it. I understand. I didn't quite admit it to myself at the time, but I'm like, people were noticing that I was unbuttoning my shirt about 9 buttons too far down the button-up shirts. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Can't even fault him for that. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how the people closest to you, like a friend of mine, Shem, he also, like, I don't know how old you are, but he only came out in his like early 30s.
Oh, okay.
And he's, guys, I'm gay. It's been
Less
this way
hard.
my whole life.
Oh my God.
I've just been struggling. I've been so depressed. And I was like,
dude, come on, man.
We're just waiting for you.
Yeah, that's really funny, honestly. But good on him. But it's good that they had a supportive network. Obviously, is what you're making it sound like, at least with you and maybe people more directly right there. So that's funny. Yeah, you were like, dude, come on, come on.
Yeah. But it's a journey. It's like from my side, I probably made a few inappropriate jokes that he had to just shrug off his shoulders. But you learn as you grow. But I wanted one more question, if I can ask, is like leading up to that, like growing up, like what is it like, and how did you finally get to that point where you're like, I just can't be this way anymore?
It's so funny. I know this differs with a lot of people, but my childhood, like I played with Legos and like Bionicles as a kid. I didn't like a lot of like girly stuff as like a child. Like a lot of the prevailing myth is that someone has to feel out of place with themselves at the age of 6 or like straight out the womb or whatever. The truth is, for me, I felt just an unending pile of sadness from like the age of 17 to 18. And now obviously you've got your good sections from that point to where I'm at right this second. But the deal was, for me, it only really kicked in after high school or during high school, honestly. And that was, I'm 28 years old. So that was about 10 years ago. So I dealt with feelings that were ever worsening. And and it's okay if I share like a little personal story. Is that okay? Or Cool. Yeah.
Please.
So for me, people watching out there, I developed really aggressive, like I always had body dysmorphia, not dysphoria, but I had body dysmorphia. I had a bit of a chubby era on YouTube, and I still recall it. It was like really early on good enough for me. And I was something like 240 pounds. I was like working on it, but like in the mirror, despite losing 40 pounds, I would like always see myself in a way that it was just like, I'm going to be this forever, right? It was probably brought on by a childhood of nitpicking and all sorts of things, that how the more aggressive, awful parents can be. Eventually that, and I guess I always saw this a little bit, but the dysphoria, it was funny. And it wasn't funny. It was actually horrible. But the more I look back at it, I should have known this was the case, because to put it in a more rudimentary way, I got this job at this place and we had these company shirts we had to wear. And one of the big things was that when I looked in the mirror, I didn't really have the physical features that I wanted. I never really felt like I liked myself. Even editing, and this is a little behind the scenes magic for you, when I was editing a lot of the Good Enough For Me videos, I would struggle to get through it, because just with the Good Enough For Me videos, I've got me coming from all sorts of ugly ass angles. I'm doing all sorts of wacky stuff, and never in any single one of those shots did I ever feel confident about the way I looked, right? It was difficult. And that's why some videos slowed down. That's why some videos were positioned a little bit differently with less of me on screen, despite me wanting to be more of a physical entertainer in an area. That's where I like to be. But at the same time, I was struggling to get into it because I knew I was going to have to go back for hours and make this video. So I've always struggled with that. So eventually what happened was eventually what happened was I had met a pal and funny enough, I went into this very trans friendly community on VR chat, right? Already very much feeling quite terrible about myself. I did a little bit of research. A lot of people nice there helped me guide me to like understanding. And then I cooked on that for about 3 to 4 months, which you don't need to. And depending on your state laws, you can get a hold of the stuff to be able to start going. But I didn't want to make any hasty decisions because for me, it's like buying a handheld. I have to cook on it for 3 weeks at a time before I make major purchases because I don't let myself have anything.
Yeah, great comparison.
Yeah.
Massive life decision.
I mean, obviously, medically transitioning is slightly heavier than buying an RG cube, but it's it is for sure. Eventually I learned like the medical stuff about what my options were. Now at the time I thought I'm 28. This all happened like this year. By the way, all this was this year.
Yeah.
And so I learned about the stuff. I cooked on it for a little while, and then I used this lovely service. And for all of you out there who aren't privy to it, but it's like, again, medical transition, really, it's like a pill situation. It really is. It's like pills. Sometimes it's injections. Sometimes it's patches or gels or things like that. There's a lot of different methods, but medically speaking, like it's primarily pills, generally speaking. Yeah. And so with me, back to that sort of how did I know and where did this all kind of start? It was about 10 years of just looking in the mirror and hating myself, wishing things looked different. And thankfully, thank you, medical science, things are changing. Sometimes I throw up comparison shots on Twitter. I swear I'm not vain because trust me, I don't want it. I don't want anyone to see it, despite Good Enough for Me being still full of like really great videos, which I think is so jarring for some people. But some people are like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I throw up comparison shots on Twitter sometimes just to give people that hope, because I was pretty bulky at the time. I wasn't exactly super fat by the time I had started, but at this point I've slimmed down. My face muscles it's rounder. With medical stuff, there's a lot of fat redistribution, muscle degradation, stuff like that. It all happens at its own rate depending on genetics. It's funny. The funniest thing to happen to me is I'll walk into the bathroom, I'll be like, "Hi, mom," because I look like my mom now. So it's fun sometimes. Obviously, you work through stuff already. I still think no matter what, you can do what you want, but also perhaps for me, I probably need to go see a therapist a little bit too, just to figure out some sort of childhood. I think a combination is fine too. But if you feel secure enough in yourself and you feel like this is the right step for you, for sure.
Yeah. No, I don't your Twitter posts as vanity at all. Whenever I see them, I interpret it as this person is just so proud to be themselves now. That's all. Whenever I see it, I'm like, wow, Shem, she's obviously just so happy to feel and look that way. No, and then so that's
it's a different feeling for sure. Because I got to tell you, despite all the video making, you'd think I'd have to at least like myself a little bit. But as a YouTuber, we all secretly hate ourselves, and that's as an entertainer, your biggest critic, honestly, and that's definitely the same for me. Definitely, Yeah, cool. Well done, and like I'm really excited for you to just. And also from that perspective, hearing your story now, because I think when we were chatting on Twitter, I was like, no, keep the original channel. Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I had debated on that, but with YouTube coming out with a lot of features that, at least from a maybe perspective, are going to help smaller creators grow, which I think is cool. From like a year and a half ago, they didn't really have a lot of the stuff they do now. Again, it was a calculated thing. I wish I could, but unfortunately, Good Enough for Me is it's a bit muddled in terms of its past and who it's for. And it's so funny, actually. With Good Enough for Me, I used to produce stuff that was not this. It was another thing at another time. And so funny enough, like 3,500 of the subscribers you see there now were initially from this other thing I did with it. And so because of that, I don't talk to most of those people. I've made a couple of good pals, but out of that 3,500, I think I'm only in contact with like maybe 2 people from it. So to me, I was like, if the video doesn't like have active people picking up and watching it, it obviously gets thrown out. And with me, I put a lot of stuff into this, whatever. So it has to be a little more calculated. just because it is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am pretty excited about the new thing though, because I feel like it encompasses a little more of what I want to do. And it's the stuff that other people were looking for as well. So it's looking pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, it's really cool, man. I'm just keen to see what you do. And it makes sense that you're just making a clean break on a new channel. And I'm here, like chat to me on Twitter and we'll like boost you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like use the community. We're here for you. Cool, man. Thanks so much for being on the channel. I want to leave it there.
Yeah, I could talk for 9 more hours. It's fine. Yeah.
No, but I think I would like to leave it on that note.
Yeah.
It's a really
absolutely.
good place to end it. So thanks so much for being here. Don't get off the call because we'll just say goodbye properly, but just say goodbye to the viewers. Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah. And just guys, just take it easy on the comments. No weird things.
Oh no, please. Keep it civil. Do what Adin says. Don't do what I tell you. Don't do what I tell you. I don't own this place. Do whatever Adin says. Whatever. Okay.
There's definitely going to be an episode 2 where we just completely talk absolute nonsense. I think that's...
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I wasn't... Yeah. Okay, so goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Okay, cheers.
Goodbye.